Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. As always, we'll be going through some of the top stories from the previous week in XR. I'm your host, Kevin Joyce, the CEO and head of Brains at Tiny Brains, and with me is Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains. Good morning or afternoon, Pete.
Oh, good morning, afternoon to yourself as well, Kevin.
Depends where you are in the world, I guess.
Exactly.
So we're going to dive straight in with some Apple Vision Pro news, as we often do. Seems to be the big thing right now in XR, as I'm sure most of you are experiencing. And it does look as though Apple is making waves in China.
That's it, indeed. We all know iPhone is quite big in China, and it seems as though the Apple Vision Pro will, well, will get a release over there. Currently, what's happened is that Tim Cook has been over at the China Development Forum and has responded to queries regarding the Vision Pro coming out, and he's essentially confirmed this has been reported by state media, I must add, so it's not being sort of reported by a lot of people, but he said that yes, China will be getting Apple Vision Pro. Now, at the moment, we all know that it's only the US that's got the Vision Pro, and Apple have already said that yes, it is coming to other countries, but no other countries have been confirmed yet. So this is kind of the first country that's by an official report from Apple sort of is coming out in China. So well done them.
So I must add to this a bit of flavor. So the first time I personally tried the Apple Vision Pro was actually in China before the device launched. Um, make of that what you will. I'm not going to reveal any details of who I tried it with. And it was a very brief and controlled demo. Obviously, I've used it a lot more since then and had more time to experience it, if you will. But yeah, I mean, signs are positive. As Pete said, the iPhone is incredibly popular in China. So much so that Android is, it doesn't even close to competing. So well done, Apple, for making inroads in what is traditionally a difficult territory for Western tech companies to enter, which is exactly what Meta are facing.
Exactly. Meta have been trying to get into China for years, and as I think a lot of sort of tech companies or a lot of tech people know, that to really get into China, you need a development partner, don't you? You need someone, a Chinese company, to help launch your Western products within the country. So last year, it was revealed that Tencent, well, Meta are partnering with Tencent. Then it was rumored, it was in January, that the partnership had been suspended for whatever reason. Now the rumor mill has suggested that no, actually, it's not been suspended, and the Meta Quest 3 Lite, or maybe the S, whatever it's going to be called, the cheaper version of the Quest 3, will be coming to China in late 2024, probably Q4, sorry.
So I would imagine this is the light version. I imagine it's going to line up with a global launch of the Light S Mini, whatever it ends up being called. Um, yeah, and it'd be a global launch for this headset. I mean, this is rumor mill stuff, as Pete said several times. Rumor, 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 rumor. So there's no confirmation of anything anywhere, and I doubt there will be until it actually happens. I imagine this is going to be a whatever they end up calling this year, Meta Connect review, or maybe just prior to that. Um, but yeah, so take everything you're hearing on this one with a pinch of salt until actually someone who knows about it actually says something.
Well, exactly. I would expect the if there's going to be any big announcements, it's going to be at the company events. So yes, for Meta, it's going to be Connect, and for the Apple, it's going to be WWDC, isn't it? So expect more information around then.
On the sticking with Meta for a moment, Meta, formerly Facebook, there was an anniversary to celebrate last week. I didn't see much about this at the time. I was surprised because I mean, it's the reason VR exists in its current state, right?
Well, exactly. 10 years since Facebook acquired Oculus. They acquired Oculus on the 25th of March, 2014. So last Monday, 10 years ago. God,
So
what a decade it's been.
anecdotally, I was obviously the CEO and editor of VR Focus at the time when this happened. And this happened, of course, about 4 in the morning UK time. This reveal came out, being living in the UK as I do. When that news broke, that was a hell of a day.
Well,
Waking
exactly.
up to that was interesting.
Well, I started at VR Focus a year later, didn't I? So I missed out on that little buzz. I don't know whether I'm thankful, but I feel young in comparison to yourself.
Thanks. So yeah, congratulations, Oculus, and all the people that became millionaires overnight with that one. Nice to see again the week prior that the Oculus name is still going kind of with the launchpad that we covered last week that was revealed at GDC 2024.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, wonderful stuff. Here's to the next 10 years.
Well, exactly. The crazy inventions that are going to come along.
But at the same time, as we're celebrating the success that Oculus slash Meta has seen so far in VR, there is, there are negatives that come along with that, and one of them has been revealed around the same time as this anniversary, being that the original Oculus Quest is going to start losing support very quickly.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a sad thing. It's one of these things that a platform has to eventually go through. And yes, the original, well, it's been happening for over a year because the last software release for the original Quest one was version 50 last year. So after that, developers have been slowly dropping support, especially all the multiplayer games have been dropping support. But Meta have just announced that any new Quest game coming to the store or to App Lab, any new Quest game after the 30th of April will not be able to support the original Oculus. I say Oculus Quest as it was launched. When it arrived back in, it was 2019, wasn't it?
It's all a blur. Last 10 years,
Well,
or
sorry.
since
Okay, it arrived in 2019 and it had a very short life in comparison to this Quest 2, didn't it?
it
It
did.
it lasted until about 18 months, less than a year. No, sorry, October 2020 was when Quest 2 came out. So Quest 1 lasted about a year, just over a year.
So when I first tried the original Quest, I don't know if you had this experience as well, Pete, but the first time I tried it, it was beautiful. It had an exposed GPU on it, mounted on the back, which meant it got very hot very quickly on the back of your head. It was basically an Oculus Rift that was cut apart to work in the fashion of the Quest, and I was blown away. Just that moment of the realization that suddenly it's all onboard compute and you're not tethered anymore was a huge deal, especially as the experiences we'd had before, untethered experiences, were Google Cardboard and the Samsung Gear VR, which was respectable for its time but did have significant issues. The Quest was freeing. And so, yeah, for me personally, it was a landmark moment trying that device and realizing that this is where the future is. And a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people prefer tethered VR to have, better compute, more horsepower behind their experiences. And that's fine. That is completely respectable if that's the avenue you want to go down. But it's hard to deny that for the wider perception of VR for the mainstream audience, untethered is what the future is. And the Quest was the first stepping stone for that.
Exactly. It's far more, I would say, far more consumer friendly because you don't need any external device. You don't need a powerful PC. You don't, or PlayStation 5 for the PSVR. It's all in one box, which ideal for consumers literally getting into VR for the first time. Plug and play. That's what people wanted.
Off the shelf.
Off the shelf, indeed. Just straight onto your face.
So we're celebrating 10 years of the Oculus acquisition and pouring one out for the original Oculus Quest. I still have several of them. I think I've got one on the shelf behind me, which you can't see. But yeah, I love that little guy, and happy death to you.
Bye bye, Quest 1.
We're also going to end the show with some other sad news. One of the most highly anticipated horror games in VR has decided that it's not going to be spooking anyone out anytime soon for like the 50th time, I think.
It's just annoying, isn't it? More than it. I can understand if developers want to push back their games. That's fine. But it's just one of the things where, especially with Madison VR, it's had several launch dates from late 2023. I think it's had a couple this year already, and it was supposed to launch last Friday, but Perp Games said no, it's going to be a little bit longer because we want to make it extra special, or more precisely, smoother, because it's all to do with the Unity SDK getting an update. And it means that the developer Bloodiest Games can, they have said they're going to be able to run Madison VR at 90 hertz rather than the reprojected 60 to 120 that you get on PSVR 2. So that will mean, as I think a lot of PSVR owners will know, reprojection, while it has its benefits, also has a lot of caveats to it. So if you can get it running at 90 instead, that's a far better trade-off.
So I personally am quite a big fan of what Perp has done for VR. I think they know what they're doing. They've had years of experience now. So I trust that this delay is going to be beneficial for the game. I don't think Perp, as a publisher, is looking to delay games from launch, looking to delay their revenue stream for no reason. But if you are highly anticipating this game, which a lot of people are, it can be disappointing.
Yeah.
Keep the faith.
Well,
Trust in Perp.
exactly. There's no new launch date. It's going to be out in the next few weeks, Perp have said. So, and this also has affected the Steam launch because they've pushed the Steam launch back as well to, give a simultaneous release.
So good luck, Perp. Hopefully that gets wrapped up and you actually get some money from it soon, because God knows you probably spent a lot on it.
Exactly.
So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. I don't really have any major events coming up to discuss, Pete. You were at Insomnia last week.
Yeah, Insomnia at the NEC in Birmingham was fun. There was a few VR bits there. Nothing too much to shout about, but they had a Cat VR treadmill there and some HTC Vive Pro 2s being used. So, quite rare to see the old Vive being shown at an event, but it's nice to see.
Fantastic. Well, that wraps it up. If you want to contact us and discuss any of these matters, or basically anything in XR, or maybe some of Tiny Brain Services, feel free to reach out on any of the channels that I'm sure Pete is putting in the description below, and we'll see you again next week.